Hey, y'all, it's me, your host, Coach Pilar Arthur Sneed. Thanks so much for joining me here for another episode of the Last 10th podcast. You know, and I know that every single week I have the opportunity to talk with runners all around the world, really exciting and fabulous people. So I just get so excited to do that. And this week, of course, is no different. I have with me Rachel Belmont. Now, Rachel has done something that is pretty unique, different, and exciting in the running world. She has combined her love of ultra running and her love of skydiving together into one endeavor in which she jumped out of an airplane and she also ran an ultra marathon. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Rachel, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
It's my pleasure. Totally my pleasure. So, Rachel, where I usually like to start is I like it when folks will just tell me a little bit about themselves. So, tell me a little bit about you, aside
Yeah,
from my intro, anything that you'd like to share.
yeah. Sure thing. So I'm 25. I just moved to Arizona like 3.5 months ago from New Jersey to start my nursing career out here. I'm
Ah,
currently working as a psychiatric nurse.
wow.
Yeah, it's really rewarding work. I actually just started this job a couple weeks ago. Originally, I was working on a med-surg oncology floor, but I really did not like bedside, and
Mm,
psych was always, a passion of mine.
mm.
So I'm primarily working with kids and
Oh,
adolescents.
wow.
Yeah, kid and adolescent psych. Really interesting stuff. Can be definitely difficult at times,
Mhm.
but I enjoy it. And yeah, so I'm doing that. I run ultra marathons. Absolutely love running.
Yes.
I love traveling to run too.
Yeah.
Have a couple of fun races planned for the next year. And yeah, I'm a licensed skydiver.
Wow.
Have 101 jumps right now.
Wow. Wow.
I'm
Wow. Wow.
super new to this sport. Like I'm total beginner still, when it comes to skydiving. And still like with ultra running too,
Sure.
I consider myself new because I'm barely like scratching the surface, and
Sure.
yeah, there's just so much to learn. So
I wonder
yeah,
at what point can we say that we're not new anymore?
I don't think I'll ever be able to say that about anything. I'm gonna always like continue to like just try to find something else to
Yeah,
perfect and get good at. And yeah, it's awesome about really anything. You're always
absolutely.
learning. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we talk about your skydiving ultra, tell me a little bit, well, twofold. So you mentioned that you are a nurse. What
Yes.
got you started in your career, your nursing career? How did you get started as a nurse?
That's actually really interesting. So originally I was supposed to be I was going to be a physical therapist. So all
Oh,
throughout my undergrad, yeah, like I gained over like 2,000 hours of experience, paid and volunteered, working at PT clinics. I got accepted into PT school. I took all the prereqs and the
mhm,
GREs and all of that. And I put a deposit down to go to the University of New England in Portland,
mhm,
Maine.
mhm.
Yeah, but I didn't really want to go to that school. It was kind of just because, I got accepted there, and like wherever you get accepted for PT school, you go because it's really competitive to get
Okay.
into a doctorate program.
Mhm.
So put my deposit down, and then a few months before I was supposed to start, I was like just questioning myself. Do you really want to do this? Is this in
Mhm.
your heart? And
Mhm.
I just had like a sinking feeling in my gut, and I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want to go to school for another 3 years and sacrifice 3 years of my life, and be in all this massive debt, after I was gonna be in like over $200,000 of debt.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of people who are okay with that, but for me, I'm like, no, that's not okay. There's more
Yeah.
to life than that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think of all the traveling and other incredible experiences that I can have, over the next few years and still, go to school and have a good career. And I'm trying to think like, hmm, what can I do that allows me to help people without putting me in a hole like that?
Hmm.
And also, my heart just wasn't in it. So I'm like, what's exciting and what allows me to help people and what will allow me to go to school for like a much shorter period of time and also save a lot of money. And then I thought about nursing. I'm like, you know what? I think nursing just might be right up my alley. There's so many
Sure.
specialties. You're helping people. It's a selfless profession.
Sure.
um, I could do, an accelerated program in my own state, save a lot of money that way, be
Yes.
done with school in like a year and a half through the accelerated program. Yeah, so I got into Rutgers, which was it was in New Jersey, so that's where I was living, and I ended up going there for the accelerated nursing program. Started in January of 2020, just graduated this past May,
Wow.
and yeah, I was done with school in the blink of an eye. Like I would still be in PT school right now.
Wow.
Still just in school compared to now when I'm working and I have a career and I've already tried two specialties and I finally found what I like. And
Right.
yeah, it was definitely a bit of like a rocky start in like,
Yes.
figuring out like how I was gonna get to being a nurse. But yeah, I just kind of followed my heart and I was like, you know what, this just feels right. And it's a unique profession because if you don't like one specialty, kind of like, I wasn't a fan of bedside, you can switch to another. And it's definitely a career that's always gonna allow you to have a job. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's really unique and the fact that you have your tough nights, right, but you go home at the end of the day and you feel like you're making a difference.
That's awesome.
And that's an awesome feeling, especially working with the kids. I really enjoy it because I feel like it's such a vulnerable population, and these kids, like, they're coming from all over the place. They're coming from group homes and
Mhm.
like, yeah, like, the streets, like, parents who don't want them. Like it's just a wide array of cases you see, and they need someone who's going to listen to them and understand them and be there for them. And
Mhm.
I like to be that person.
And are you in a hospital setting or are you in a group home setting or what kind of a setting are you in?
So I'm in an acute setting. It's my where I work. It's Oasis Behavioral Health.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, a psychiatric inpatient unit.
Gotcha.
We have an adult unit too. I was on the adult floor like my first week, but I prefer working with the kids. I really enjoy working with the kids.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that you had the self-awareness really. It takes a lot of self-awareness to realize that a particular endeavor is not going to be for you. And A, before you even get involved in it to say I'm not doing that. And then B, to choose something that you think is going to be a better fit for you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Agree.
tough. It takes a while sometimes, but you eventually find your way.
Absolutely. So now you are a runner, a skydiver. Have you always been involved in any kind of athletic endeavors?
Running, yes. I was a competitive track and cross country athlete in high school. Actually, I was on a scholarship to run for the Florida Gators
Wow.
in college, and yeah, it's a bit of a long story. So what happened was, yeah, I
What had happened was
happened was, yeah, I signed to run for Florida. I was on top of the world, right? Like this was the best team, and I didn't even get like a big scholarship at all, like but I still like got this opportunity, to be on this amazing team and be one of the athletes on that team at the back of the pack, which is what I wanted, because I felt like that would get me better. And that's specifically why I chose that team. I had that mentality in my head, like I want to be like the number 10 girl on the team, and that's going to motivate me to get faster and stronger and better. And yeah, I was like, 17 years old and just really headstrong. I'm like, I'm going to this school. It's the best. Um, and a month after signing day, I was in my gym class playing basketball.
Mm.
And I'll never forget this, but I had a freak accident that changed
Wow.
my life forever. Yeah, I went for a layup and so yeah, literally like in my gym class and tore my ACL, my meniscus.
Whoa.
Could not run for 6 months after that. Yeah, I missed
Wow.
my entire senior spring track season, and
Wow.
yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, all of that. It was insane. And yeah, I was like, I couldn't run for 6 months. What was I supposed to do?
Hmm.
Um, so finally, I went to Florida over the summer to get a head start on training. Figured I'd, yeah, like I just lifted a lot of weights and biked and all that. I had the surgery in April of my senior year.
Hmm.
So I had the surgery, then I go to Florida over the summer, just take some classes, get a head start on training. I just wanted to like meet the team and stuff. That's what a lot of athletes do.
Hmm.
Yeah, they'll do like a summer semester. So I do that. I finally get back to running again. I start up
Hmm.
in what you call it, September, right? So 6 months later, I'm starting to run again in September.
Hmm.
2 weeks back into running again, my knee really hurts, and I'm
Hmm.
like, what's going on? So I
Hmm.
got an MRI, and then I'm diagnosed with a cyclops lesion, which is very rare. It's like
Hmm.
it happens in like 5% of post-op ACL patients.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super, super rare, and that meant I had to get another knee surgery now.
Man.
Um, so I literally just spent 6 months getting back from one surgery just to now have
Hmm.
another. And that really made me just like kind of sink into like this dark, endless hole. I'm like,
Hmm.
I literally have had two surgeries in the past year. I'm like 18 years old.
Hmm.
I can't even enjoy like my first freshman semester. Everyone else is hanging out and
Hmm.
running, running together. And I'm just isolated. And that was awful. And a lot of people don't know what that feels like, you
Hmm.
know? And I didn't know anyone else really other than runners. Like it was
Hmm.
really hard. So I ended up actually leaving mid semester. I was like, I need a break, right?
Wow.
I pulled myself out.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, I went home and I took off that entire year. I just had
Wow.
like a job at like Panera that year. I didn't transfer to another college until the following fall of 2015.
Yes.
Um, I transferred to Monmouth University the next fall, but that whole year before that, I just came home like midway through November of 2014. I just took a year off. I just worked.
Wow.
I didn't even start running again till that spring. I was like, I need a break from running. I didn't think I could run again. I mean, that was really scary.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I took off a year and then finally spring rolls around, spring of like 2015, and I'm like, okay, like I'm done being at rock bottom. There's
Yes.
really nowhere I can go but up.
Yes.
And I got just sick of like being depressed and down and just not feeling like myself.
Hmm.
I did not feel like myself at all. And
Hmm.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna sign up to do my first marathon. After not for like a whole year having two
What?
surgeries, it was nuts. Yeah. So I'd always wanted to run the New York City Marathon. Like that was
Yes.
a bucket list, goal of mine. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah, like, I grew up in Brooklyn. That was always a dream race of mine. So yeah, I'm like, I really want to do this race. And it was too late to obviously enter the lottery or do like the 9+1 or anything. The only way I could get in was running with a charity. So
Hmm.
I'm like, you know what? I'm going to commit to raise $2,600 and run with Team for Kids, which is
Wow.
the premier charity of the New York City Marathon. All the money raised goes towards kids, in inner cities to have like money they need to buy, running equipment and the means to be able to participate in races. And yeah, it's just an awesome way to give back and let these kids like have the opportunity to
Hmm.
compete and have something that helps them create goals at such a young age.
Yes.
Having that growing up is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, I committed to run with Team for Kids, and I was like really nervous. I'm like, I have 5 months to train for this thing, and I haven't run in like a year. Like 15 miles was daunting to me. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that, you know? I think the most amount of miles I've ever done, you know, in high school, like as an athlete was like 12. But like for me, I was like coming from these knee surgeries, like, am I gonna be okay? And that scared me.
Yes,
But I was like, you know what? Like there again, like I can't get any lower than I'm at right now.
that's right.
That's just
That's
gonna
right.
get it.
But
Yep,
that's like as Coach Denise says, she says you were skited,
it's very exciting.
scared,
Very exciting.
skited, scared, and excited.
I can't agree more. Yeah. So, um, what happened was, yeah. So I registered to run with this charity, and it was. Let me tell you something. The summer of 2015 was a magical one. I would meet with Team for Kids every single Saturday in New York, and we'd run across the Brooklyn Bridge together. We'd run across Harlem. You know, we'd go on all these amazing runs, like all throughout the city. And I met the coolest people in the world. Like, and these people were just genuine. Like, I'd always been used to, you know, people being really competitive with each other in high school and stuff. And,
Mhm,
you know, you have to run for a time, right? Because the
mhm,
faster you run, you know, the more college
mhm,
coaches that are going to recruit you. You're based
mhm,
on a time.
mhm,
Here, time didn't matter. You know, people
mhm,
were in it because they were overcoming personal battles in their life,
mhm,
maybe whether that was, you know, a divorce or weight loss or just, you know, a previous toxic lifestyle.
mhm,
And they were just trying to better themselves, and everyone wanted to see each other succeed. And I thought that was beautiful. And it was different to me, you
mhm.
know, at a younger age, like when I was used to something so different from that.
Yeah, so like, you gotta make this happen.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? This is amazing. And yeah, like this the team, the coaches, like they helped me train so hard the entire summer. And, you know, I went from like being so unconfident to yeah, being able to do like 20-mile runs. And you know, I was just so happy like to be meeting all these cool people and running in unique parts of Manhattan. And I got my passion back, got my mojo
Yeah,
back.
that's
And
awesome.
yeah, like this team became my family. Like I'm still such good friends with these people.
Mhm.
Like you know, I'm never gonna forget how they helped me get started.
That's
um
awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so
So, New York
I
City Marathon comes.
finished. I finished. I was like 19 years old, and yeah, it was my first marathon, and I finished. And the feeling that I felt after that race, like it's you know what? I would say that race, even more than most of my ultra marathons, was like the most special finish
Mhm.
because you know I just overcame like so much that past year. And
Yes.
crossing that finish line, you know,
Yes.
in Central Park, like after
Yes.
all that I'd overcome, you know,
Yes.
and not having a knee injury or anything, and everything was
Yes.
fine. Like that was the best, most beautiful feeling. And um, I was just really happy and thankful for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It was literally comeback your comeback moment.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Do you have like photos of that moment of your crossing the finish line?
You know what? I do have some New York City Marathon photos.
Because
Yeah.
I would love to love to see the moment that you cross the finish line. Because you know they do that there. You're cross the me. I was crying like a baby because I cry in every marathon that I
Oh
cross the
yeah, me
finish
too.
line.
When was your first New York City marathon?
My first marathon was also New York City in 2017. That was
That's
my
awesome.
first one. Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. And I got injured on the way to the start line, so I didn't even really know if I was going to make it to the start line. And then I had a doctor who was like, "Oh, you should just quit." I was just like,
What?
"Okay." And I also did fundraising as well, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not quitting. If I have to crawl through every borough of New York City to cross the finish line, I can and I will do that." So, yeah. So, okay, so now you've had your first marathon. At what point does ultra marathoning become like a thing for you?
Yeah, so I decided to run a bunch of marathons first. I originally had a goal, like I wanted to do a marathon on every continent, and I started doing some more international races. Like I did the Petra Desert Marathon in Jordan.
Oh,
Yeah, that race was so fun, and I met some really funny people on that trip.
yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, that was, oh my God, that was like one of my favorite races in the world. And Jordan's like my favorite country too. That
Wow.
was so fun. Like just imagine like running a marathon through like desert and you
Yeah.
look around and you feel like you're on Mars. It's
Yeah.
such a cool feeling. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that. And that was so fun.
Yeah.
And then I did the Dublin Marathon.
Oh, cool.
I did I did another marathon in Tunisia. And
Wow.
yeah, so like I was like trying to, again, like run a marathon on every single continent. And yeah, like I was like, I need to run one in Africa. And I'm like, what's a really cool country, like a unique country in Africa that a lot of people don't go to? Because I like going to countries that are off the grid and not
Yes.
very touristy, and where I feel like I'm really getting to know the culture. And
Yes.
Tunisia was on my radar. I forget exactly how I came across that race. Yeah, and I heard about this run called the Carthage Marathon, and I'm
Oh.
like, yeah, like no one's ever heard of this race.
Oh.
I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna run this. Like, yeah, this looks like fun. And then I actually contacted my friend Laura. Laura is a Team for Kids coach.
Okay.
Yeah, and we actually met. Yeah, we met at like one of the first practices when I was training for the New York City Marathon,
Yes.
and she became a really good friend of mine. And I'm like, Laura, do you want to like come with me to Tunisia? And she's like, heck yeah. Like Laura's like so wanderlust, like she's traveled like everywhere. So now me and Laura go on a trip to Tunisia together to run this marathon in
Yes.
the middle of nowhere. And then yeah, like that was just a crazy trip. Let me tell you, I ended up like winning the race. It was like a very
What?
it was a very small race. There were like three women in the whole like in the whole race.
You, Laura, and the other one.
It's like there was like no one in the race. Yeah, but like I won. And it was like it was like the cutest thing. Like they were so sweet. Like they were like treating me like I was like some queen or like elite athlete, or
I'll
like
take it.
they were like feeding me cookies after, and like and sandwiches, and covering me with like blankets. And like I'm like, guys, like it's okay, like I'm not I'm whatever, like I'm not nothing special. And yeah, like after that race, I'll never forget this. I went back to my hotel, we got dinner, and then we hopped on a 7-hour overnight train to a little bus station the next morning. It wasn't really a bus station. It was just like we hop into a bunch of vans and then we go places. So we do that. So I take an overnight train after running this marathon to a little bus station where we hop into a van, where we drive 2.5 hours to the edge of the Sahara Desert, hop onto camels, go into the middle of the desert, make a campsite, and hang out with Bedouin nomads all night. Yeah, camping under
Okay.
millions of stars, drinking tea, like no Wi-Fi. It was the craziest 24 hours of my life, let me tell you.
Wow.
Like that was fun. And that wasn't like an organized like trip like through a travel agency. Like we just kind of did that ourselves.
You just figured out, okay, we're going to Tunisia.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing that we'll do. This is
Oh,
it.
my flight to Tunisia didn't even show up. I had to book a last minute one. Yeah, I booked with a really sketchy airline called Level Airlines because I'm like a cheapskate when it comes to flights. Like I like to spend as little money as possible when it comes to like, yeah, like flights and accommodation and stuff. And yeah, anyways, they didn't show up. So then I had to book a last minute plane ticket
Yeah.
the next day with Turkish Airlines from a different
Yes.
airport. My poor mom had to like pick me up, drive me back home, drive me like to another airport. It was just insane. So
I,
don't book Level Airlines. But yeah,
I've heard, was Turkish Airlines okay?
I love Turkish Airlines.
Okay.
Yeah, Level Airlines doesn't exist apparently. Anyways,
Anymore.
yeah, but like this is what I mean. Like I've had like so many cool, like fun experiences from running marathons. Just and the people I meet though, and the places I go, like that's what makes them really interesting. So
Yes.
eventually, yeah, I got into ultras. I actually ran my first 100-mile race in 2019.
Was that your
Um,
first, was that your first ultra, or did you
actually,
do others before that?
I did a 50 miler
Mm,
in actually 2017. Yeah, I did a 50-mile race in 2017. That was a really hard one. I ran, it was like a trail 50-mile race, and I didn't do any trail training at all. That race, like, literally just spit me, like, it chewed me up and like spit me out. But I finished.
yeah, that's all that
I,
matters.
I felt, I felt like, honestly, after that race, it took me like 2 weeks to recover from that race. It's crazy.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, like I was just, it's crazy, like how you compare the shape you're in then, like to now.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. But I finished. I was like 20 years old when I did that.
Wow.
And then yeah, I did my first 100-mile race across the Florida Keys when I was 22 in 2019.
So,
I don't.
so you literally just, okay, so you said, okay, so I'll run some marathons, and then I'm just gonna jump into ultras at 50 miles. You didn't like, do like the step ladder thing, okay, I'll do like a 50K, and then maybe I'll do a 60K, and then maybe I'll do 100K. You said, nope, 50 miles it is.
Yep. Yeah, I'm like, you know what?
You don't roll small.
No. No, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it.
Okay. So your first 100 miler, how was that? What race was it, and how was that?
That was the Keys 100-miler. So it was a 100-mile race from Key Largo to Key West.
Mhm.
And that race was just pure brutal. Just think there was a 107-degree heat index, and half the field dropped out. And it was my first 100-mile race ever, like I was again like in not as good of shape as I'm in right now. And I just, there were a lot of stuff that I was just experimenting with for the first time.
Mhm.
And my mom crewing me, and this other really awesome girl who lived locally come out and crew me. And yeah, it was that race was just intense. Like at mile 40, I wanted to drop. I
Mhm.
mean, I was not able to eat anything during that race
Mhm.
at all. Like it was
Mhm.
just so hot. My stomach was like churning. I could not stomach any food
Mhm.
at
Mhm.
all. It
Mhm.
was awful. And I remember, yeah, like at mile 60, or yeah, like around like mile 60, I just broke down and started crying. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know if I can do this. I
Mhm.
feel horrible. You
Mhm.
know? Like I wanted to quit and stop, and then I'm like, no, like I committed to this. We drove all the way down, to Florida for me to do
Mhm.
this, and I'm gonna finish at whatever cost.
Mhm.
You know, even though I'd barely eaten that entire race, and
Mhm.
um I was sick, you know, I was reminded by the girl who was crewing me, like, look, your highest moments come after your lowest. Like, you have to keep
Mhm.
going. And that's
Mhm.
very true in an ultra. Yeah, your highest moments do usually come after, your lowest moments.
Mhm.
It's a really magical thing, but yeah, a lot of it really is mental,
Mhm.
I have to say.
Mhm.
And yeah, I remember like I felt really good then around like mile 80, and then I just started pushing, going faster, and before you knew it, I crossed the finish line that morning, and let me tell you, that was the best freaking feeling
Of course.
of my life. I collapsed after. I was in a medical tent for like 5 hours,
No
just
way.
yeah, because I had heat stroke and I was vomiting up any food that I tried to eat. I was covered in
Wow.
paint marks and burns all over.
How
Yeah,
burns?
like just chafe burns. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, chafing because your pack is rubbing and
and I had trench foot. It was horrible. But I
oh my God.
finished. Yeah.
You're not inspiring, and you're not inspiring me to want to do this first 100 miler. I was running yesterday I was running I only did like 5 miles or something on the treadmill, but there was like a nice little documentary. It's called Once Is Enough, and it's Jeffrey, Binney, I think is his last name. His mom was passing away from heart failure, and he was like in the hospital watching as she's, passing away, picks up a magazine, and it's Trail Runner magazine. And in Trail Runner magazine, in that particular issue, they featured the Leadville 100. And it's like the whole show is interwoven with his comedy bits. And he says, so I was just like, like any other person who reads about the Leadville 100, I thought to myself, huh, I should do this.
Heck yeah.
So he signed up for the Leadville 100, and he did not make it through that race, because I guess there's like really hard cutoff,
very tough. Yeah.
Cutoff lines. So he made it to Mount Hope Pass, and then he talked to his coach, and then he decided to do another one, and he just he broke his ribs in the race. He just but didn't realize it because he fell, broke his ribs. He had twists his ankles or something, like couldn't move his feet like this up and down afterwards. And somebody asked him, do you want to run another 100 miler? And he's like, yeah, not right now. It's a great movie. If you get an opportunity to watch it, it's really great. I'm sure you will identify with many of the ups and downs that he faces on the trail. So let's talk about your skydiving ultra marathon.
Yes, it's for sure.
What?
That's kind of the reaction I get from a lot of people when I explain.
Because, first of all, there's two things you can literally die doing. What?
Skydiving safer.
So how did you decide to do such a crazy endeavor?
Oh man, so this is also quite a story. So I actually got my skydiving license 3 years ago, right around the time that I started training to do my first 100-mile race across the Florida Keys. Mm-hmm. So I just got into skydiving around the same time I was just starting to get into ultra running. And people told me that they did something very special for their 100th jump. It was like a milestone. You get pied in the face. It's like a whole big thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's really cool. Like, I want to do something epic for my 100th skydive. And then I heard about the Skydive Ultra Marathon. Actually, I heard about this race before I got my skydiving license, just because I, had known other people who did it or whatever. And it's the only race in the world that starts with a skydive. That's crazy. At Spaceland Clewiston in Florida. So you jump into the race and then you run around a drop zone. You could do either a marathon, a 50 miler, a 50K, 100 miler. There used to be a 200-mile race as well, but Eric got rid of that. Yeah. From what I heard. Yeah. So whatchamacallit? So I had this idea, like, I want to time my 100th skydive with the 100-mile run at this race. How epic would that be, right?
Pretty epic.
So, yeah, and this was like a 3-year dream of mine. This took 3 years of coordination and planning and dreaming, because after I got my skydiving license, I hadn't really jumped that much the following year. I got my license in fall of 2018, and I didn't really jump that much the following year. I was busy training. I had other stuff going on. Skydiving, it's still not like, something that is like my main hobby and I'm jumping all the time. No, like it took me 3 years to hit 100 jumps. And to be honest with you, half of those jumps I did in like the past few months just to prepare for this race.
Sure.
Yeah, because then I went on current for 2 years because I was in nursing school, and I'm like, I need to focus on school. This is important. This is what's going to get me, the career I want, let me accomplish, the goals that I want. So I put skydiving away. For 2 years, I just focused on school, and then I had running as my hobby. That was, what I stuck with, to being like my stress relief, and also just to stay in really good shape and everything. So, I graduated from nursing school this past May. I got my skydiving license recurrent this past summer. And that was really scary, like jumping out of a plane for the first time in like 2 years. Like, I was so nervous. My friend Melissa was my was my, did my recurrency, and it went really well. And it felt really good to get back in the sky again. Um,
Absolutely.
when I did, um, yeah, I was like, all right, here we go. Like, time to get those jumps up for the Skydive Ultra. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and all I did was just grind out as many jumps as possible the, past few months, which was also really hard. Like, yeah, again, like I was working overnight shifts as a nurse, and I'm running very high volume weeks. I'm running like
Mm,
80 to 100 miles a week, and that's a lot.
mm,
That takes a lot out of you. I can't, just go to the drop zone like every single weekend.
mm,
It's tough. I just kind of had to get creative and
mhm,
just get in as many jumps as I pretty much could whenever I
mhm,
could.
mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, it took me 3 years of
That's
planning and
amazing.
training and getting uncurrent and getting recurrent, and finally it all came together. And actually, so organizing my crew for this race, so I had the best crew on the ground. I had my friend Matt is amazing. Matt, he's a paramedic, and I actually met him at the Florida Keys 100 because
Mhm.
he was one of the medics there. And we met and we became really good friends, and we kept in contact for years. And he is so selfless. He decided to crew chief me for this whole thing. He literally like picked me up and drove me like an hour and a half from where I was staying to Clewiston, and um, like managed all the food and everything else that I needed, for the run, and um anything I needed, he was my guy for. And for that, like, that was just so selfless. Like, I mean, he took
Mhm.
off of work to crew me for, a whole
That's
day.
awesome.
And yeah, that was really amazing because it was a long day because first, I had to skydive and then start the race, and it's like it was a lot.
Yes.
And then my friend Sarah, I knew her through social media. We were like social media friends.
Yes.
She was a Florida local. We had never met before, but she offered to come out and crew me and help me out.
It's
So
amazing.
she joined Matt, and she stayed there the whole day and cooked for me and made me quesadillas and any like food that I needed, anything, like, she was there for me. My crew was just so selfless and beyond kind and
Absolutely.
committed to me last weekend, and I'm just so thankful for that. And then my friend Lucian, he's a character. Oh my god, he's like the coolest person you'd ever meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just has so much enthusiasm. He's really popular in the Florida running community. Like,
Sure.
everyone knows who he is.
Sure.
And we've known each other like on social media, but um we never met in person. And I reached out to him and asked if he wanted to help crew, and he's like, yeah, of course. So he came out. He actually paced me for a bunch of loops,
That's
and
awesome.
including the last and final loop. Yep, he stuck with me throughout the dark, because it was, let me tell you, that course at night, it
Mhm,
is pitch black. Like,
mhm,
you need a headlamp, because
mhm,
the course is not lit up. It's
mhm,
also a lot of unpaved running
mhm,
path.
mhm,
A lot of it is overgrown brush and
mhm,
thorns and vines and sand. And at night, it's like really tough to run on that
mhm,
course.
mhm,
So he stuck by my side and I just kept motivating me and playing music and and pushing me. Like,
mhm.
he was like, I'm gonna push you. And he was just like running ahead of me to push me.
Wow.
And I'm like, just so thankful for him for also like being so selfless and driving all the way up from like Miami,
Yes.
to run with me and to crew me. Yeah, I love my crew. I have so much love and appreciation for them. And then
Absolutely.
my friend Robin. Let me tell you something about Robin. So, Robin, she's the one who is like, she was in charge of she was like my sky crew, right? So, she was in charge of the whole jump that we did. So, Robin, I totally fangirled her Instagram account for like a while. She's so cool. She's an ER doctor. Get
Yeah.
this. ER doctor. She climbed the 7 summits. She summited Everest twice. She's a base jumper. She's a wingsuiter, a skydiver. She's a plane pilot, a hang gliding pilot, a paragliding pilot. She's a marathon runner. an Iron Woman. She does it all. You have to check out her Instagram account, Robin Wanderlust. Like she does the cool stuff.
Absolutely.
So I
Wow.
totally fangirled her. Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, and I reached out to her because I saw she jumped in Florida a lot. And I'm like, hey, Robin, like, I love your account and everything you do. Look, I'm doing this my 100th skydive into my 100-mile race in Florida in a couple weeks. And I really need help organizing an epic jump. Like, I don't know anyone down there. And, I want to like kind of try to organize this in advance. So it's not like all over the place, like the day of. Right. And I didn't want to end up jumping on my own. Like, I wanted to just make fun for my 100th. And Robin's like, oh my God, yes, like here's my number. We're gonna do like
up my alley.
Yes, I will take charge of this. I'm like, all right, cool. So Robin, like, she's so amazing. So she had this idea to take a bunch of glitter. She spent like $147 on glitter at Michael's, dumped it into her rig, right? So the rig that's like the whole unit that we use for skydiving. That's the container, both your parachutes and everything. So she takes her rig. She's like, I'm gonna dump $147 worth of glitter into this and my parachute, and I'm gonna give it to you, and you're gonna jump it. So when you pull, there's gonna be an explosion of glitter that comes out as you're flying. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, like I didn't know if this would work, to be honest, right?
Sure.
But so spends all this money on glitter. We have someone pack it for us, and like the jump itself was just insane. We got a bunch of other people to join. Robin brought like a suitcase full of like all these crazy creature onesies, like unicorns and dragons and stuff. And she's like, here, everyone put one on. And I put on like a rainbow unicorn onesie. And then we also decided to jump with donuts during the skydive to make it even crazier. So I'm wearing a unicorn onesie, jumping, eating donuts, and on the plane ride up and in the sky.
And in the sky.
And then when it came time to deploy, I deployed my parachute, and like we had hoped, literally a cannon of glitter just shot up.
And I'm hoping you have this all on video.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it was
epic.
It was
absolutely epic. So you have now jumped out of the airplane, or what I really would like to know is I would like to know what time of the day did you jump?
Yeah, so we were actually on the first load. So here's how the race kind of like works. So everyone who's not doing the skydive and is just doing the 100-mile race starts at 7 a.m. Because the course closes at 3 p.m. on Sunday. So you have 32 hours to finish if you're not doing the skydive. But we were skydiving in, so the first load went up at 7:30, like sunrise, right? So as soon as you land, you could start whenever you want, which is really awesome. You just have less time to finish. So for me, I was like, okay, that's actually really cool because, this is a really big event. I want to watch everyone's videos. I want to chill for a bit, talk to everyone and then just start when I'm ready around like 9:30 or so. So yeah, we went up at 7:30. We jumped, I hung out for a bit, and then I started my race around 9:30. And I just had like less time to finish. But that was fine. And yeah, I finished around like 5 a.m. Oh my God. And when I crossed the finish line, get this. So like I said before, it's a 100th skydive tradition to get pied in the face.
Okay.
Yeah. After you do your
who came up with this? Who came up with this idea?
It's me. I don't even know. But so I told everyone, listen, I want to get pied in the face, but it has to be after I cross the finish line because I'm not going to get pied in the face before I start a 100-mile race. That's not happening. No.
Then you have to try to get clean, and you're running with stickiness on your face.
I crossed the finish line. I'm ecstatic. I ran in a fast time, and and I ended up winning, and it was like a, beautiful, awesome moment. But I was like, just, so like out of it. Like, you look at the video, I was just like, I'm done, because like, just not even just the run, like just the adrenaline
Yes.
before, like it's a lot, like,
Yes.
jumping
Yes.
out of a plane, wearing a unicorn onesie, eating donuts, deploying a parachute full of glitter, landing, starting a 100-mile race. Like, that's gonna tire a person out. Like,
You think?
you got like, I mean, you don't think about it, but like, it's gonna hit you. It
I
hit me,
think
like,
so.
when I finished, I was like, okay, I'm done. I need to
Yeah.
just sit down.
Yeah.
And the race director hands me my buckle, and as he's handing me my buckle, Robin comes up wearing a unicorn onesie and just smashes a pie in my face. And I was just like, oh my God, like, what's going on right now?
I'm so confused. I don't even know.
That, I'm telling you, this past weekend, I can't even put my finger on an adjective to describe it.
Yeah. Amazing.
It was insane. This was more of like, it was more of like a party and a celebration than a
Yes.
race. Like, I ran like hard and strong and everything, but like, it was just so joyous. Like, every single bit of that race was just so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Eric does such a great job putting it on, and I really want more people like to do it. And I hope, last weekend like brings more light to the race and more people sign up, because it's like, a lot of runners don't even know what it is. Like,
Yes.
don't even know this race exists, and even less skydivers know that this race exists too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like more people should. It's
I
so
totally
fun.
would do it.
You
I've
should
never skydived before.
skydive into the start of your
Well,
ultra or your marathon.
why not?
Yeah, Denise is doing it next year. I convinced her to. I'm
That's
like, maybe I'll come
awesome.
down and like crew you. Like,
Yeah.
I would come
Yeah.
down again.
Yeah. Awesome. So how many ultra marathons have you done? And maybe just in general, how many races in total have you done over the course of since 2015 when you got back to it to now? And you can break it down, you know.
Um, oh man. I can't like really put my finger on it. I don't know. I've done a handful. I've done the Keys 100. Then I
Mhm.
did Skydive Ultra. I did a 100-mile run on a treadmill for my own fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun. Then I've done a few 24-hour races. I actually had a breakout race I did like a year ago. I did 117 miles in 24 hours. Yeah, that was actually while I was in nursing school too. Like, that was a really special race of mine.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
The most that I've run on a treadmill is 26.2 miles. So talk to me about this 100-mile treadmill run that you did.
Yeah. So this race, there's a company called Liquid Sky Sports, and they create skydiving suits, like really nice, snazzy skydiving suits.
Mhm.
So when COVID first broke out, they switched from making skydiving suits to masks to like adapt to the situation going on, keep their employees with jobs.
Mhm.
And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, still, I was just starting nursing school, and all my races got canceled, and I'm like trying to be creative here. I'm like, all right, like, I see a lot of people are doing virtual races and stuff and fundraisers, and I'm like, how can I make this creative? So I decided to run my own 100-mile race virtually, just right, do my own thing,
Mhm.
and do it on a treadmill. That way I'm live streaming myself, and people could like
Amazing.
interact with me. And also, everyone was like quarantined at the time, so I'm thinking like everyone's gonna be at home, like, and watching me run on a treadmill. Like, it's genius. Like, what else is there to do that's fun, right? So
Most people don't term most people, regular people that are not
yeah,
running people, don't term running as being something as fun. They certainly wouldn't deem running on a treadmill as being fun. And most assuredly would not say that running 100 miles on a treadmill is fun. But you're a different breed.
I don't even like treadmills. Let me tell you something. I hate treadmills. The only reason I did that was because I had a friend that recommended I do that because it'll be more popular that way because more people will tune in and
Mm,
donate and,
mm,
be watching me
mm.
do this.
So did you
So,
take breaks? Did you like take breaks on the treadmill while you were
oh
running?
yeah,
Like,
like I would go to the bathroom or whatever. Yeah, but like if I wasn't running, I was walking because the clock kept running and I wanted to do the 100-mile race in, a day. And
mhm,
I even had a stride foot pod
mhm,
attached to my watch,
mhm, mhm,
just to ensure that it was going to be as accurate as possible.
mm,
So just because like a treadmill obviously is not accurate, it's just a conveyor belt, right? And
mhm,
then GPS watch and a treadmill. I mean, a lot of it's calibrating mileage using like both like your cadence and your
mm,
arm swing, and
mhm,
like I'm like still it's not like entirely accurate. So my
mm,
friend had recommended I use a stride foot pod, which I
mhm,
connected to my Garmin, and
mhm,
that just ensured that it was going to be as accurate as possible.
mhm,
Um
mhm. Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
So I did that. And yeah, like I decided, yeah, like, I want to like make this a total like symbiotic like relationship here. And I'm like, I'm gonna run my own virtual 100-mile race. That way,
Mhm,
I still get to like run a race and put my
mhm,
training to use,
mhm,
while raising money for a skydiving, organization, right? Give
mhm,
back to my
mhm,
skydiving community.
mhm.
And then I'm going to donate the masks that I raised the money for to nurses in the tri-state area.
Awesome. Awesome.
And it it worked. It
That's
totally
awesome.
worked. Yeah. And it was amazing. Like I can't tell you like how many people like supported this event. I ended up
Mm.
we raised over $6,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And it went like totally viral. And I did this too, like while I was during final exam week of my first nursing semester, which was even crazier. That I think was the craziest part because like,
Yeah.
I had told myself like no distractions during nursing school, and here I am like during the most hectic week ever of nursing school, like
Mhm,
doing this event and coordinating it, making it all come together, like
mhm,
contacting a million people, like
mhm,
and continuously promoting this so people would donate. And
mhm.
yeah, it was a successful event. People got to watch me run on a treadmill for yeah, like 24 hours, and it was
Awesome.
um it was entertaining, and yeah, people just loved watching me suffer. But I made it fun. I made it fun. Like I was on Facebook live streaming, I was on my Instagram live streaming.
The entire time?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, if one died, I made sure I was on the other. Yeah.
Wow.
It's hard to be on both at the same time though. Yeah. So
Wow.
it was more of just like an event like for fun, like to raise money and yeah, like just to for people to have like a good time watching it, you know?
Awesome. Awesome. So I have just two questions left for you. My first question is, over the course of the years of your running career that you have, you know, been involved in, what is, something that you have learned or gained through your running practice?
Yeah, to always have a why.
Mm,
Yeah, to always have a why behind what you do.
mm,
Because I think that's what's gonna make any race really successful.
mm,
Like this past weekend, everything went so well. And a huge reason behind that was because I had a strong why going into it. This was a race where I was doing this for pure joy. It
mm,
was something that was never done before. I was skydiving into it with a bunch of really awesome people, and
mm,
I was just at a high the entire time. And I had so many people supporting this, between my crew, staying there a whole freaking day to
mhm,
Rob and spending all this money on glitter and giving
mhm,
me her rig, to jump, and all these other people for supporting me. Like, I wanted to do this for them too. And yeah, like this was also just a race about resilience for me.
mm,
Skydiving, it's not a sport that I'm comfortable in. I'm
Mm,
like I said, I'm still so new after 100 jumps, and
mm,
I debate quitting it honestly all the time
mm,
because I don't feel the same confidence I feel in skydiving like I do with running.
mm,
And also with running too. Yeah, like, I've been through a lot. Like a couple of my past races, I feel like I got so inside my head and things got really numerical and analytical, and I didn't like that. And
mm.
this race, it was all about just, yeah, running it hard and strong, but also just having a good time
Yeah,
doing
I love that. I love that. Then my second question is, if you had advice, if there is advice that you've ever been given, or advice that you would like to give to other folks out there, what would it be? And it does not have to be running related.
Sure. Whatever you do in life, just make sure that your heart, body, mind, and soul are fully in it, and
Mhm,
that you love what you do, and you enjoy it, and nothing ever feels forced. Because, I feel like if you're forcing something, if things get to a level where, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it's just not going to work. Like,
mm,
you want to do what you do because it excites you, not because
mm,
you feel like you're forced to do it and it makes you miserable and it's stressful. Like, that's not why we run, right?
mhm. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, we face so much stress in everyday life, and running could be a release. And when you do a race, like, you got to kind of like shake off those nerves and anxiety and think back to like why you're doing this. Like, this
Mm,
is fun. This is an adventure for you.
mm,
And that's what I try to think of. Um, when I run now, I'm like, this is just a personal journey of
mm.
growth, and just another epic adventure that you're doing. And when you look at it like that, it becomes fun. um
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I've seen people, even myself too, like get unhealthily obsessed with like numbers and times, and I'm really competitive, and I definitely want to run a lot of faster times this year. Like, I'm
Mm,
specifically running a few 100-mile races this year that are known to be like fast courses because I want to
mhm,
run fast, but
mhm,
also like, I remember why I started, and
mhm.
I remember to do what I'm doing for the right reasons too.
Absolutely. What I love about talking with you, Rachel, is that from everything that you've shared with me is that you seem to be a person who you do exactly what you say. You do exactly what you say, which is that if it doesn't feel right, you're not going to do it. You're going to shift gears and you're going to
Yeah,
go do something else. It,
honestly.
it's just like I love that way of doing things, and it makes so much sense to live your life that way, and also to live to be invested in your running career in that way as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and anything you do in life too, like career wise as well.
Mm,
PT didn't feel right to me.
mm,
And a lot of people tried to advise me against switching, and I didn't listen. I was like, no, I'm following my gut, and I
mhm,
switched to nursing. Um,
mhm.
you know, um, Same with anything else. Like, it's got to feel right.
Absolutely. Rachel, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It has been a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Awesome.